My name is Chris Burgess and I'm a PhD student at the University of Nottingham. My research is on political posters. This poster is arguably the most famous ever produced. It was produced by the advertising agency Saatchi & Saatchi in 1978 for the Conservative Party. Some people claim it's the most effective poster ever. Because parties have always used posters during general elections, they represent an amazing source of evidence to see how parties have spoken to the people during the course of the 20th century. I think one of the things that means the poster was used then and perhaps will continue to be used is the ability to deliver a message very quickly to someone walking down the street. These two posters were both produced for the 1997 election. The one on the left is another Saatchi design. The dark forces to which Claire Short refers are New Labour spin doctors Alistair Campbell and Peter Mandelson. It was highly criticised and the Bishop of Oxford complained that you shouldn't use satanic imagery in political posters. The one on the right is produced by New Labour, again of Tony Blair. It's a very positive message, and you can see with his unknotted tie and his rolled up sleeves, Blair's meant to be one of the people, he's one of us. And it just shows you, the poster demonstrates how the formality of politics has been lost over the 20th century, whereas once politicians appealed as statesmen, as leaders, now they appeal as one of the people. My research began with an AHRC collaborative award between the University of Nottingham and the People's History Museum in Manchester. We got together with the museum because we knew there was this fantastic resource. The museum has upwards of 3,000 political posters, perhaps over 1,000 election posters, which had never really been considered or researched in this way before.
There's a lot of important academic input from Chris, and of course in the course of his research he discovered facts and information that we could never have found simply because we've not got the time. And of course that is now gone into the object history files for the posters. So the posters are much better researched than they were due to Chris being here.
People talk about politics becoming much simpler than it once was. People talk about the leader becoming more important. Well, it depends who the leader is. If you go right back through the 20th century, leaders often appeared in posters because it was much easier to put trust in a leader than it is trust in a party. This is a poster of Stanley Baldwin, produced in 1929. That election became known as the Safety First election because of this poster. And the interesting thing about this poster is it's entirely about voting for Baldwin the man rather than Baldwin the leader of the Conservative Party. In fact, there is no mention of the Conservative Party in the poster at all. Although it's a photograph, and indeed it's one of the first posters to use photography, it's actually aping studio portraiture. So this is a kind of classic portraiture of a great figure. And this is all about Baldwin being a leader, a statesman-like figure. This one's interesting because one of the criticisms of contemporary politics is that it's becoming too simple, it's dumbed down too much. Yet, even in 1900, this poster produced for the Liberal candidates of Oldham in the 1900 general election showed that simplicity was around then. Why should you vote for Emmett and Runciman? Simply because you like them. In 1955, it was the second general election where parties had been allowed to put party election broadcasts on the television. This poster from 55 advertises Labour's election broadcasts, but the poster would have been displayed in people's windows. Because not everyone owned televisions, you would put this up and invite people in to watch the election broadcast on your television. In 1955, the person in charge of Labour's election broadcast was Tony Benn. The original design for this poster was in the archive downstairs, and with that was a letter from Benn stating that this is the design he'd come up with, which was then sent to a designer, and this is the finished product. It seems that the posters that people remember and the ones that they talk about during elections and afterwards are the ones that have a good design, but it's a good design which matches with the public mood of the moment. This poster was produced in 1966 for the Labour Party. The pipe in the middle, it actually represents Harold Wilson, a famous pipe smoker, and such was his fame as a pipe smoker that you could take Wilson out the poster and put in a pipe and you would know what it meant. In private, Wilson actually preferred smoking cigars. I think that research into posters and indeed into the way that politicians speak to the people is important, because that's how we understand democracy. There's a space between politicians and people, And it's what goes in that space is how the people understand why their leaders do the things they do. And I think through understanding this communication, we can understand what politicians think about the people and how those perceptions might have changed over the course of the 20th century.